Hello, YouTube. This is Insane Monster with part 5 of What If Asta was the son of King and Diane. Yes, it has been a little bit and such. And where we left off last was the end of the whole thing with the first attack on the Capitol. And not only did Asta get a new form of his spirit spear that resembles his mother's Gideon, he met his mother, his aunt and uncle, and his cousin Ellie, named after, I guess you could say, the nickname of her, uh like the closest thing that one of the closest things he has to an aunt, as well as having Oslo with him now. So with that short recap, we we get, well, just hit it. Now then, now with this part beginning, we get to where Asta's training in some tips he got from his family members that were there for a while. Though after that warning that oddly enough came from the spirit spear in the form of a vision, they have to worry about a new holy war and are training to prepare for it. Though Asta's having some trouble with some aspects. In response to that, it only took like a day or two for basically Diane sent over to help train him. Also, after discussing it with the former sins, two of the sins were smirking at one another, which were obviously Meliodas and Bon, who had an idea. Currently, in response, but Matrona, who taught Diane as well as the son of Bon and Elaine, who is Lancelot, and yes, if you've seen the more like the end of the Seven Deadly Sins manga online and such, yes, their son is called Lancelot. They were sent to the Black Bull's hideout to help train Asta. On meeting them, there was some introductions as Lancelot introduced himself as Asta's cousin and Ellie's uh, older brother. Asta was actually kind of excited to meet Lancelot, as Lancelot used his weapon trying to stab Asta to see how his reflexes are. They're fast, but he did get cut a little bit on his cheek as Asta yelled, "What was that for?" Lancelot stated, "Just checking your reflexes, cousin." As for Lancelot's weapon, it is actually a sacred treasure that goes by the name Orondite, which is a basically a three-part lance. It could be put together to form a lance with the blade end resembling more of a dual-sided sword that is able to break apart. As for his magic, since we're merging the Seven Deadly Sins world with the world of Black Clover, obviously hybrids like Lancelot have who are half human, half fairy, have two elements, magic. Lancelot's two magics are actually Snatch from his father and plant magic. So, yeah, there is that. As for anything else he has, well, I think I'll upload something on the community tab giving his full armory and such so that you'll be able to look on the community tab. Once they calmed down after that incident, Lancelot stated that him and Matrona are here to help Asta train properly in both the fairy portion as well as the giant portion of his heritage. As we see Lancelot change his form to where he has his fairy wings. Asta is a bit jealous, considering he doesn't have his wings yet. Though he never figured he needed wings, but now that he sees Lancelot with them, he has an undescribable kind of jealousy over it, as he just sighs. Then Lancelot continues, stating that there will actually be 3 others sent to the Clover Kingdom to help in the threat of this holy war that appears to be coming. Yami walks up to him asking who exactly are being sent. As he states his younger sister, Ellie, though her weapon isn't prepared yet. Ellie has since she is also a half-breed between fairy and human, she also has 2 magic elements, which are wind and fire. Which Lancelot then remembers as he asks, is there a Noelle here? As Noelle steps forward asking, yeah, why? He then opens up a bag and tosses her an armlet with 3 blue jewels in it, stating that that's something that Merlin made, said to give it to you. This is an armlet known as Scorchbane, as he describes its abilities to store up the same level of mana that Noelle has currently inside each gem, though it will take time to store it up. Which means each gem stores the same amount of mana Noelle has normally. Also stating that the gems can pop out instead of being used to replenish her own mana to make magic clones that will be capable of all the same spells that she is. He does get excited over this and places it on her forearm, which then he gives a bag similar to Asta's mom that she wears on her back that will grow along with him whenever he turns into his giant form due to an enchantment on it. As Asta puts the helmet that holds Helvrum's soul in it, and looking at it, Helvrum remarks that this look really brings back memories. As Lancelot walks up to him, remarking, huh, so this is the helmet Merlin remade. As he's surprised to hear this, Helvrum states, yeah, this helmet was actually destroyed. Well, at least the first one was. Merlin was able to remake a new one and use some old magic that was able to allow my soul to be bound to this one. It was I heard it, well, yeah, it was supposed to be like a present for you after you were born. So, there's that. Asta smirked, as he was grateful for the gift and such. Though Yami did ask who exactly were the other 3 that were coming to help us out, which Lancelot stated that he nearly forgot, as he listed them off. Besides Ellie, there will also be Tristan, as he describes him as the son of a man named Meliodas and a woman, Elizabeth. Going further down in on the list, he states a girl called Lilith, who is the daughter of Zeldris and Gelda. If you don't know who Gelda is, read the manga. Okay? And as you would expect, they basically, Tristan and Lilith are also both hybrids, which means they also have two different magics. As he states that Tristan has light and dark magic, as well as learning full counter. Now, if you're wondering why that is, full counter is a skill that Meliodas learned from his teacher, who also used it along with a lot of other spells. Not to mention, there is also the physical full counter aspect. So he states that they'll be coming later. At least it will take a bit for them to get here. After that, they start training. As Patrona begins training Asta properly to use the ancient giant dance that draws mana from the ground. He has some trouble getting it right. As Yami asks, what exactly is this for? Patrona explains that this dance is handed down to them by the founder as well as the god of the giant race, Droll, stating that he was actually the first king of the giant race, and that his successor, Asta's mother, became the second ruler of the giant race as the giant queen. This did astound people to hear this, as he continues stating that this dance has the ability to allow giants to draw energy from the ground itself, drawing in large amounts of mana. The more mana they're able to draw from the ground, the more powerful magic they can use. Which they find interesting, but Asta's definitely having some trouble. Yami stated to Asta that maybe he can help with the process, asking if he's ever felt something like the feeling of existence of others near. When he thinks, he remembers whenever he sensed not the mana but like the life of the that spatial mage that was helping to attack the capital. As Yami stood up and drew his sword, offering to help him learn. Surprisingly enough, Asta picked on it pretty quick, though it was still a bit rusty compared to Yami's experience with it, though he was surprised how quickly Asta picked it up. As a result, Asta was better able to perform the dance to draw a large amount of mana out from the ground. Not only that, it appeared to have the effect of better sensing everything around him while doing the dance, combining the dance ability to draw energy from his surroundings and feeling the life around him, even further enhanced from the slight key sensing ability he learned from Yami. As for Lancelot, he trained him in a couple of things in regards to fairies. How the fairies' plant manipulation is different from actual plant magic. Plant magic allows a person to create plants to fight. However, plant manipulation that is typical for fairies only allows them to manipulate already existing plants nearby. So if there aren't any plants close to where he is, it won't work. As he then remarks, stating that Asta seems to not like using his other magic. Of course, this catches some of the Black Bull's attention, as They ask what other magic are they talking about. That they asked, they just thought it was earth magic in that spear. Lancelot stated, wait, the spear is a sacred treasure. It isn't actually his own magic. As he looks at him, asking, you never actually told them, did you? Also scratched the back of his neck, stating, I don't really like using that. It seems kinda much, you know? Patrona stated that her, his father somewhat felt the same way. It wasn't a power he'd like using so freely. As Luck and the Magna, as well as Finro, were getting a bit anxious and asked, what magic is it? Asta stated, it's magic called destiny. I can make people, well, if they have a slight injury, a something, or a slight illness, like, I don't know, a cold or food poisoning, I could make it a death sentence for them. If it's a small paper cut, I can make it a gaping wound. Effectively, I can increase the damage something minor does. Which Magna gets a little nervous and hearing that, while Luck is excited, wanting to fight, as Frimril is just having a blank face, thinking, what the hell? As Yami states, yeah, I can see that. If you use that constantly, it would end the fights too soon. And how would you push your limits then? As this wasn't what Asta was talking about, but whatever, he'll go with it. As some time went, Finral is gathering some people for the mixture, although instead of Luck, he acts as Lancelot. He's okay with that, as he acts as if he needs to bring his weapons. When Finral asks, wait, I thought you only had one weapon. He states that, no, I actually, if I go up against more than one person, I use plant magic to make some vines on my back to each hold a weapon and kind of go on a rampage. Lancelot from the Arthur mythos is more or less of a rampager kind of knight, tearing through enemies like paper. So I figured that kind of thing would be more his speed. As Finral states, no, 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 you don't need all your weapons. As he just pockets his sacred treasure away on the side of his hip. He also gets Asta to come to the mixture as well. As the same as in canon, Noelle is freaking out about this, and Lancelot looks at her and just kind of smirks, which causes some unease to Noelle, with her thinking, why is he smirking at me? The mixture goes pretty well and such. When they get there, Noelle's still there, waitressing, as Lancelot excuses himself for a moment, and as he walks by Noelle, he states, if you really want to be with him, then you should just go for it. As Noelle quietly whispers at him as he grabs his ear, stating, what are you talking about? Are you insane? I would never do that. With Lancelot just smirking, saying, sure. With her just being beat red and steaming, full on denying everything he said. Finral walks away with one of the girls, and so does Lancelot as they talk, and leaving Asta and Rebecca together, as they then begin to talk about their families and such, which goes pretty smoothly, and causes Noelle to break a plate. And then we got the haha guy being all snide and getting a face full of water magic. Then the drunk guy comes in as he grabs onto Rebecca, which she's not liking. As then Asta steps in and states slight increase. As this just causes him to go from normal drunk to blackout drunk. He tips over as Asta states, "Hey, you should probably get this guy home or something. It looks like he had a little bit too much." As Rebecca and Asta leave, she asks, "Okay, I'm not buying for a minute that guy tipped over on his own. What did you do?" Asta stated, "Well, I guess you could say I made the effects of the alcohol stronger on him than what it already was. Don't worry, it's not enough to cause any real harm. He'll probably just won't remember what happened tonight." As Rebecca thanks him, he asked if he has anybody that he's interested in, but he just sighs for a moment, stating, "Well, a lot of things have happened recently. I haven't really given any thought to any of that stuff." As he sighs, thinking, "Honestly, my life has gotten a lot more complicated than I ever planned it to be." As she smirks, asking if he's gonna be okay. Asta just smiles, saying, "Yeah, I'll be fine." As he has a Gumnir in its guardian pillow form start sitting down, floating on it, smirking that he had a good time. As Rebecca stated that she did as well. This isn't really much, just a friendly conversation and such. And which is when he goes off going back, as Rebecca invites him to meet her family, which he's okay with. And as for later on, like in canon, he does meet with Rebecca's family and runs into Marie, Ghost's sister. When he does, he remarks, "Huh, if I remember correctly, you're Ghost's sister, right?" She's asked, "How do you know that?" And he states, "Your brother never stops talking about you in our Magic Knight squad. Honestly, it's not really sure how to put it, but it's kind of all the time, more or less." As he just puts her hand on her forehead, saying, "Yeah, that's my brother for you." As he just pulls out his sacred treasure in its guardian pillow form, asking if the kids want to ride, increasing its size, which they're excited about, as Asta just controls it to fly. Of course, Noelle's there as well, watching this as she vastly overpays the spatial magic maid, basically their form of a taxi, overpaying him for the travel fee. Next thing we know, Ghost is there complaining to Asta about hanging out with his sister, as he's stating, "The hell's your problem?" and all that. Afterwards, the elderly sister, who mentioned that she actually taught Flagoleon and such, as Asta apologized as well that he couldn't help him. She smirked, saying it's not a problem, as he brought the kids along with Marie back to the orphanage, where he just turns the stone, as he yells at Marie, saying "Marie," and blaming Asta for taking his time with Marie. As Marie then tells him to stop it and that she is going to marry Asta. and this just breaks Ghost. Afterwards, Asta is invited to eat at Rebecca's restaurant that she cooks and runs. She accepts needing a meal and starts chowing down, eating with her siblings and such, as Nero's also being fed. Of course, Noelle is also freaking out because of some stuff that her siblings are saying as well, which causes Rebecca to blush. Once night falls, the same kind of magic happens that causes all the kids to be taken away. I would imagine that if somebody with the experience and magic control of the sister didn't notice it till it was too late, not even Asta, who is currently a not quite awakened yet fairy king, would probably not notice it as well. Though he does wake up whenever Ghost is trying to kill him, as he just floats, dodging all of his attacks, getting outside. Whenever Rebecca yells at them to stop, stating that her siblings are gone, which is when they look around and multiple of the children in that area seem to be also missing. This isn't quite right, though Ghost only really gets into it whenever he hears that Maria's gone, hopping on the broom and just bolting out of there using the mirror he gave her as a kind of tracking device. As for the way for Asta and the sister to go there, after telling Noelle to call in for some backup, he summons Guardian as the sister sits down to basically fly on it as Asta just floats. Catching up the ghost, they say that they need an actual plan to get all the kids out of there, as Ghost said he's just going there to save Marie. As Ghost flies into the cave, we have Austin, the sister, watching over the kid, which is the little brother of Rebecca. Of course, Marie breaks out of the spell that she was under as Asta and the sister try to help Rebecca's younger sibling, and Asta gives him his black bull's robe to try to keep him warm, telling him to be careful and to stay safe as they hurry up and go in there to get the other kids. They catch up with Ghosts, who full on is attacking the snow mage, who is doing all he can but is getting defeated by Ghost. Afterwards, we have Asta and the sister getting there as Ghost grabs Marie and completely bolts out of there. He does do the same thing as in canon, running into Rebecca's younger brother, leaving Marie with him. As for the Mud Mage, he uses that the whole eye thing, like the monocle thing, to check Asta's magic. And what he sees is like some kind of gigantic tree that full on shatters the monocle for sensing magic. After he full on blitzes the Mud Mage, taking out the Demon Slayer sword, slamming him into the wall. He uses his earth magic to form some earth around him to keep him trapped, as he goes to the kids using the Demon Slayer sword to undo the spell on them. The sister is getting them out of there, while the Mud Mage uses his magic to use a little tiny mud man to hit a tracking device that is supposed to be an alarm for emergencies. Next thing we see as the Mud Maid states that he'll do anything, with Asta berating him for what he's done. Next thing we see is Sally popping in as he looks at Asta as a prime lab specimen, stating that she's going to have him. Asta instantly turns the spear into its increased form, pulling out the second anti-magic blade. Sending it to Sally, she uses her sticky salamander while she's in it to do her best and more or less try to take the impact of the increased form of the spirit spear, having to use her dark magic tool to make it stronger. Which is when Ghost gets there, firing his magic at the salamander, having little to no effect as it's being the lights from his mirrors are being bent around Sally in the salamander to where she doesn't get hurt. As he's having enough of this, she stabs the gel. She stabs the basically whatever kind of gel or or whatever you want to call it in the dark magic tool, jamming it into the mud mage's neck, turning him into a giant mud monster. Asta is trying to chop off parts of him more and more, having not much effect since it's regenerating more, as he tries to use increases dark mode to try to make it more damage, but even if it's cutting away more of the mud, it's still regenerating faster. As Ghost states that it's no point to this, Asta gives his usual speech as in canon, stating that they need to do this together, which Ghost uses his magic item where his eye should be to make multiple Astas as they go chopping away at the mud monster with the increase in its dark form, completely destroying it. As then the sister destroys the sticky salamander that Sally is hiding in, full on burning her up. After which, like in canon, they are blinded by a light, though now that Asta has a little bit of training in Ki, he can sense the hostility and put him, Ghost, and the sister in Pollen Garden, causing the minor wounds to heal up, and also blocking the light magic that tries to pierce through them. As then we see the guy who's calling himself Licked, stating, my, you truly aren't human, are you? Why do you protect such filth? As he drops Sally in a spatial portal to go back to their hideout. As we see Oslo finally catching up from being informed using his ability to pop in and out of places. Once he gets there, Asta tells the sister to get out of here with Oslo and the kids, telling her that Oslo's mouth is actually a spatial portal. He tells Oslo to get the kids to the nearby town that Noelle is called from. As Oslo barked, growing bigger, and the sister hopping on, asking if they're going to be okay. Asta states he's going to be fine, as Asta grabs Ghost and throws him on top of Oslo as well. But Lick stating, just think you're going to protect such filth. I would have hoped to have you on our side, but I suppose we can talk about that later after I immobilize you. As he goes to attack him more and more, he tries to dodge. Luckily, we see Finral and Yami step in, which Finral asked about the kids, and Asta states that the sister is outside the cave along with the kids, as Finral uses his spatial magic to go over there to try to help them transport the kids. Some of the kids find it weird to walk through a portal in a dog's mouth, but I would think the boys would have no problem. Like Rebecca's little brother full on goes in there and then walks out, well, back out into Oslo's mouth, stating, "Hey, it's true. This thing's mouth is a full on spatial portal." As the girls are a little ick about walking into a giant green dog's mouth, they just walk through Finral's portal, as the sister helps guide them in and such. Afterwards, when they get there, they help heal up any injuries and scrapes and such. But like in canon, we have Yami going at Lick, which goes pretty much as in canon. As for Asta, he fights the Spatial Maze a bit more easily, as he then blitzes towards the Spatial Maze using his floating ability and going a lot faster to get right up to him, full on kicking him in the solar plexus, sending him flying into the wall. Of course, Lick doesn't appreciate this and goes crazy with that light whip, causing the whole cave to fall down on him. Luckily, Asta has earth magic and controls it to blast the rubble off of them. Doing this in his giant mode with his Spirit Spear's Mjolnir form that he has, remarking, "I am so glad I'm half giant." As Yami states, "Same here." As the fight continues, Asta is able to help Yami with his attacks using the Spirit Spear in its Dark Guardian form, smacking, uh, full on smacking Licked into the ground. Though the Dark Guardian form, well, the dark forms of the magic of the Spirit Spear don't have the same, or at least not as strong of a dispelling effect as the actual demon swords. So yeah, which is when the third eye pops in. In this one, Asta's a lot faster and able to float on his own, so I would imagine they wouldn't be able, like Lick wouldn't be able to use his big attack like he would want to. So there is that. And Ghost would know how powerful Asta is in this and be okay. Though Asta has been burning through a lot of magic with all of these fights. And with the third eye there, with Raya, Fauna, and Vetos, it's a lot harder, as Asta still hasn't had full control of his key sensing and such, working together with his mana sense. He gets hit by a few blows as he goes after Veto, with Fauna and Raya going after Yami. So yeah, as Asta gets smacked by Veto's Bear Claw, along with his speed boosting magic in combination to smack Asta into the ground, along with Yami being smacked in the ground when Veto joined in with Fauna and Raya for their attacks. where Yami's sword does get snapped, which is when the captain of the Silver Eagles, Blue Rose Knights, and the Green Praying Mantis join in, matching up same as in canon. Finral does get back as he just seeing the mayhem going on here, as he's really starting to panic at what's happening in front of him and regretting following Yami's orders to come back. Yami just sees the mayhem and just chilling. Asta pulls himself out of the ground he practically got buried in as he kind of steps right up to Yami, asking if he could try something. Yami looks at him and asks, "What exactly are you thinking?" He smirks, thinking, as he tells Yami, "Well, it's an old move of my mom's. I am told it's quite devastating, though I'd like for Finral's help in doing something." Finral didn't have to use as much magic since Oslo was there helping him out with his spatial magic mouth. Finral asks, "Oh, what are you gonna have me do?" Asta just stated that, "I just need you to make a portal to drop the captains into a safe place." He uses the Mjolnir to turn into his giant form since he isn't quite capable of taking its giant form all on his own quite yet. Grabbing Yami and Finral, putting him in the backpack that Lancelot gave him, stating that he wants him to put the captains into this backpack using his spatial magic. As he begins the dance of the giants to draw in tons of magic, where the elves as well as the captains begin to notice the large increase of mana that Asta is building up using this dance. While they were distracted by this, though, Finral was able to take the opening to make a portal to drop the captains into his backpack, as Yami tells them to hold on. Asta takes his hammer and slams it into the ground, yelling, "Mother Earth catastrophe!" as rocks begin to burst from the ground. Using light magic, with Raya grabbing Fauna and Lit grabbing Beto to teleport using the light magic spell they both seem to have to dodge the rocks. They soon find themselves, without noticing, underneath a giant floating, well, to be honest, it could be considered a small mountain, as Asta swings his hammer, slamming it on top, practically trying to crush him. As Beto yells, "Raya, open the portal, get us out of here!" Raya opens a portal below them as they rush to go in it. Luckily for them, they were able to get through. As then we just see giant Asta standing there on top of it, breathing heavily, stating, "I'm gonna need more practice with big moves like that." Where Yami, Finral, and the other captains walk out, seeing what Asta did, with Yami laughing and saying, "Man, kid, that was impressive. Look at this." With Asta shrinking back down and his spirit spear going back into its pillow form, being completely exhausted, not used to pulling off some crazy earth magic like that. As the captain of the Green Praying Mantis, as well as the Silver Eagles, agreed that this is a oppressive amount of magic to use for a single attack. Although, before the impact actually happened, they sensed that their enemy's mana disappeared, remarking that they most likely used a spatial spell to get out of there with that copy made. Asta didn't really care at the moment, he just wanted to rest. As he then just slipped into a sleep for burning out so much mana and taking some big hits from that Beto guy. He didn't expect someone so big to have a spell to boost his speed as well as his strength so much. And considering he doesn't have the same level as battle experience as his parents, he isn't as strong as they were in the Seven Deadly Sins series, considering their difference in actual battle experience. So I did figure that in. Afterwards, he wakes up in Mimosa's healing plant cradle magic, with Lancelot looking over him, stating, "Looks like you made a big mess out in the middle of nowheres, huh?" As Asta just states, "Oh, shut up." The plant magic released as he gets up, cracking his neck. After he meets up with everybody, seeing that all the kids and everybody else were safe, Rebecca does give him a peck on the cheek, with Lancelot leaning in towards Noelle, stating, "Look like you got some competition," with Noelle blushing, stating, "What are you talking about?" panicking a bit, as well as him saying that to Mimosa as well, as he blushes and panics a bit. With If you didn't know, Lancelot is able to hear people's hearts, so he hears people's true feelings that they don't state out loud. So after that, they do leave to, go back to their respective hideouts and such. However, it is almost time for the rest of their reinforcements from Britannia or such to come and help them out, which, if you remember correctly, from near the beginning of the video of this what if, are Lilith, Tristan, and Ellie. So, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also remember to hit that notification bell and set it to all so that you know when the next vid is going to be out. Hope you enjoyed, and also I hope you'll stick around for the next video, which I'll do as soon as I can, which should be part of the main lineup, which is, as you may already know by the pattern of which this is going at, sorry, I'm trying to show it, which is this, right here. What if Deku was an Heliotrope? Hope you enjoyed. See you later.